Hello and welcome. Today I would normally have a fairy tale up. It's Monday, but Panther, my little angel, decided to take apart my House of Night file. Thankfully, I knew the 12 books pretty good, and I'm very grateful that I had done a master list so I knew the order I had to put the books back into. But you'll see more about that on Friday when I present Panther, the Working Cat, and King of Mischief. So, as I don't have a fairy tale to come up today, I decided to do a update on where things are going with my reading, and that in turn means where things are going with the channel. So, first off, I was watching Books, Songs, and Other Magic yesterday, Gareth, and he was talking about an event that is coming up, Horror Mayhem. So, obviously, starting in May, that also involves the Bryants, and I'll have links to both of their channels down below. If you want to know more about Horror Mayhem, I'll leave a link to Gareth's video down below as he explains all of it and the different prompts involved. This will be the second event that I will be involved in regarding BookTube channels and things, so that's rather exciting. In March, I had done the mystery reading, and in May, I'll be involved with the Horror Mayhem. With everything else that has been going on, and I'll talk more about the banned book project that I've been involved in, I just thought I would share some of the books that I'll be reading in May. It has to do with short stories, so that works out perfectly for me. This entire cube here are all ghost stories, both long and short, so I have plenty of selections there. A number of months ago, I picked up horror short stories when I was at Indigo. It was a nice buy for $10, and it includes authors that I am familiar with. So we have Edgar Allan Poe's The Pit and the Pendulum. I've never read Bernice. We have H.P. Lovecraft, The Haunter of the Dark, Dagon, and the Horror at Red Hook. And Bram Stoker, The Squaw. I've never heard of that one. The Secret of the Growing Gold and The Invisible Giant. There's authors that I haven't heard of, so it will be a chance to check some of them out as well. And sadly, I don't think I can read any of the stories from this particular book because their copyright claim on these stories definitely doesn't make it possible to share them, which is unfortunate because to me, if you know a bit of what's in the book, you're more interested in going to check it out and buy it, but it is what it is. Another story that I may revisit is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I only read that for the first time a little while ago. It was definitely an interesting story. I've seen many movies based on it, but I have to say I really did enjoy the story. I may also read Carmilla again by Sheridan Le Fanu. I enjoyed the story, maybe because my family is originally from around that area, so there were some interesting parts in the history and how things were in the past. So it's a story that I may definitely check out again. Two books that I may revisit. These are both by Michael McDowell, an author that I very much enjoy. The Amulet, again, one that I read in high school, along with Cold Moon Over Babylon, both super creepy, both speak to humans, the choices they make, and what happens when you don't stand up to some people or correct behavior early on in life. Definitely worth the read. I also need to check my public library because I know they have his book, The Elementals, which I'm very interested in checking out as well. And of course, since we're talking about horror, it's finally time for me to start reading Edgar Allan Poe. I've had his collection. Ironically, I have 2 copies of his collection, and I definitely need to go through and start reading some of those. So, Edgar, like my Sherlock Holmes collection, has been sitting, waiting ever so patiently, and maybe I'll get into a story or 2 of his. The one that I definitely remember and I enjoy reading is, of course, The Telltale Heart, so I may revisit that one again as well. So, those are all the books that I have potentially planned for May. Like I say, I need to go through my ghost cube as well. The other thing I'm involved in, and I've talked a lot about this through different videos, is the banned book project. I made a 3-part series. I'll leave that linked. Never get it right, so it's going to be up here somewhere. Episode 1 talks about banned books in general. Episode 2 focuses on Canada. And episode 3 deals with the United States, the United Kingdom, and burning books. So if you haven't watched those already, I recommend giving them a peek. And at the end of each episode, I list all the sources that I referred to pull that information together. Now, in the Canadian episode, I had talked about an author who was banned from speaking here in my city at the public library. And I picked up her book, How Woke Won. This is by Joanna Williams, the speaker who wasn't allowed to present at the public library. I also couldn't borrow her book from the library because they don't have a copy of it, ironically. So I was very curious then to find out more about this individual. I've only gotten part way through her book. It is a very interesting read and has definite connections to 1984 and The Handmaid's Tale and current events in our world. I still need to finish it, look a bit more into it, but I will be doing a video about this in probably a few months from now because it's going to take a while to digest all this information as well as track down and check out a number of different sources. From How Woke Won, I ended up thinking about a video I had seen several months ago, and it had to do with the issue of racism, was well presented by the content creator. What he had done is taken several TikTok videos to demonstrate what individuals are saying, particularly about white people. I wanted to revisit that because, as I say, the video was well done. The content creator, very articulate, clear, and concise. From that, I ended up, because of course YouTube has video recommendations down the side, I ended up going to check out some videos by other content creators who were responding to this particular video that they have seen. It was a good decision because it was also good to know that not everyone is on board of this, hey, let's turn everything around and hate on white people for a change. And it's okay because they're white. In other words, if some of these individuals stopped to think about what they were saying, they would clearly realize how inappropriate it is, regardless of the color of the individuals they're talking about. The fact that in these clips, there was one woman who was saying, ooh, don't bring your white friend because maybe we don't want to deal with their white shenanigans. Really? And somehow that didn't ring to you that if you turn that word around to any other color, that would be racism. And so I have to say, watching people responding to those comments who were as disgusted by them as I was, and no, the individuals who were responding were not white. So, like I say, it's good to know that not everybody is on board with some of these things that are going on. Interestingly enough, from that, I ended up watching a video that had to actually do with slavery. And it was a definite eye-opener. This individual who was presenting the facts is Black. The individuals watching the video were Black. And it was shocking to me and to the individuals, because they were watching a video and responding to it, to find out that now in 2024, there are still millions of people living in slavery. And I found that shocking because here in my area, our school board is looking at changing the name of 12 schools, which will take a lot of money that is being pulled away from our students. So instead of spending money on the resources or support staff or enhancing their education, our board is deciding it makes more sense to get rid of these names because, well, these individuals had something to do with slavery. And although, yes, slavery is bad, the fact that there are millions of people in 2024 still living in slavery makes me wonder what is going on here. Who is making money or benefiting from this whole let's get rid of statues, let's eliminate these names? Because let's be very clear, those individuals did a lot more than have slaves. There were discoveries made, there were policies made, there were improvements and enhancements made. So yes, there is a part of their life that, hits a nerve, but there were other parts that tie into our overall history that people should be aware of. Like the individuals in the video that I was watching, I was flabbergasted to learn, and I believe the number was over 700,000 slaves in Africa. In Africa. And these individuals were all blown away as well, and they all got out and started Googling, and they were horrified, understandably, to find out that that was true. I also began looking at different websites, statistics, information, various sources, because again, I don't just trust one. And sure enough, like I say, there are millions. This is still a worldwide problem. So I don't know what else to say about that, because it really, to me, doesn't make sense that there's all this stuff. Because yes, what happened in the past was horrific. It should never have happened. I'm not disagreeing with that. But the fact that it is still happening in the here and now makes me wonder, what the hell is the point of renaming all these things, eliminating all these statues, and trying to eradicate and rewrite history, when instead, how about dealing with the issue happening right now, today? And if you're Canadian watching this, guess what? We have slaves in Canada today. If you're watching this from the United States, sorry, there's a number of slaves still in the United States today. There is a website that presents statistics, and Yeah, the numbers are horrifying, just truly horrifying. So I had to take a step away from that for a while. And no, I don't have any videos prepared. Last week was trying to come to terms with all of this, as well as trying to figure out whether I would even mention it. And we had lots of rain, and contrary to Weissman, yes, those of us who live with arthritis do get impacted by that rainy, damp weather. I don't know who he talked to, but obviously it wasn't people who pay attention and make note of their condition as many of us do. Along with Weissman, I decided to start Michael Shermer's Why People Believe Weird Things: Pseudoscience, Superstition, and Other Confusions of Our Time. What I didn't realize starting this book, because I thought that it would be like paranormality and just kind of focus on those subjects. However, this all came back to that whole banned book and where's society going and rewriting history, iceberg. I'm almost finished, not quite, and I've had to read it in little bits because part of the book deals with the battle in schools about whether creation, as told in the Bible, should be taught beside the theory of evolution. So there's an in-depth conversation about what is science, and he goes through a court case where creation scientists were arguing why their version should be told alongside evolution. The next part that I'm currently into reading are the Holocaust deniers. That premise is that there were not as many Jewish people killed as they say, that they were not killed in the gas chambers. They don't deny that there was the war or horrific conditions or the camps. So again, it's a very heavy, controversial subject to try and wrap your head around. So this isn't the quick read that I had thought. I'll definitely be talking more about this particular book. In the beginning, he talked about some of the paranormal things in terms of how psychics do cold readings, unlike Weissman, who did one experiment with one psychic who he doesn't actually name, which I'll talk more about when I review that. Shermer at least gives us the example of James von Prague. Yes, I have his book, Ghosts Among Us. I wouldn't have known who that was had I not read that. So again, this comes to things all fall into place, I find, when they're supposed to. And yeah, there's just been a lot of heavy subjects and readings in the last little while. So I've decided that I'm going to be ending the month by reading Care of the Soul. This is by Thomas Moore. I started this a little while ago, but I need to get back and finish it. And I have another book that I want to combine it with to do the video, to talk about the different things that we can do to keep ourselves in that positive, hopeful, uplifting frame of mind, which, like I say, going through some of these heavy reads lately has been a little challenging, so I need to get back to some of that. I've definitely been looking at my bulletin board to the side about energy follows intention, the 4 agreements about, not taking things personally and just focusing on what you can take care of. So that board's come in super helpful. The other book that I'll be reading before the end of the month, rereading, is The Seat of the Soul. This is by Gary Zukov. I did read it, I think it was last year, and I'm looking forward to going through again and just highlighting and getting some things together. I've also just finished listening to How to Get Your Shit Together, and I can't think of the author's name right now. It was a book that I borrowed from my public library. So, yeah, along with these heavy reads, I thought, okay, I need to start getting some of those things in place. And I also need to get to the Inner Me journal. I need to get to my coloring book, as well as the Self-Compassion Journal, my 52 weeks to better mental health. So that is going to be what I'll be focusing on, certainly over the next few weeks. I also need to start putting together the videos on the banned books that I've finished. I just started listening to The Outsiders yesterday, another audiobook that I borrowed from my library. That is by S.E. Hinton, and I've read that book a number of times because we covered it here in English classes when I worked in schools. So I'll be revisiting Pony Boy yet again. That will be book number 9 out of 24, and I think I'm going to put, well, no, I was going to say, and then I think I'll put it on hold, but I'm actually looking forward to reading the Dark Trilogy by, I believe it's Pullman, starts with The Golden Compass. So I very much want to read that because it sounds like it's the type of story that I would enjoy. And then I need to get all those videos together, including the House of Night series. I've got some things put together for that so far, but I need to finalize that. Also, I need to get to my books on Blavatsky. I've had them pulled aside and sitting on a shelf, waiting ever so patiently as I'm rearranging furniture, trying to organize books. Yes, I still need to finish my book master list. So there's a lot of different projects on the go, but as the book I just read said, I need to get my shit together. And I need to be able to figure out where I'm going to start and get a few things finalized. Something that I did yesterday, this was a part of a recommendation from the book, but I always do things my own way. So I have 4 months on the top page, the same 4 on the bottom. The top one is goals, the bottom is a review. So that will be a great way to start getting organized. So I already know in May I'll be putting down Horror Mayhem and setting up how many things I want to read there. I want to get Blavatsky done and that episode up in May. So I went through and I did a list of the different goals and projects that I'd like to get completed before the end of the year. And then I need to transfer them over to my planner, and then I need to break them down in little steps. That's where I'm at for now. So hopefully I'll have some regular uploads ready. This may be a slow week. On Friday, like I say, Panther will definitely be the king of the episode because yes, he's cute, yes, he's cuddly, and yes, he can be a little character and get into lots of adventures. So hopefully you join me on Friday for that. I know Panther would certainly appreciate if you give him thumbs up and likes, as they all tend to look at things now and again. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, or you find that you also get kind of off track with different reading projects and subjects, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned. Are there some amazing reads, authors that you found lately? I am always looking for the next good read, even if it throws me off track. Also, the likes and comments help get me out to other viewers who may also enjoy the content. If you enjoy content of a bookish nature, nature videos, or silly cats, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when I upload content that may be of interest to you. Until next time, remember to take good care.